Oh, we're rocking it live.
Oh, are we? I had no idea. Where's our music?
What music? We don't need music. Really?
Unbelievable.
You
What
want
kind of
music?
what penny production is this?
This is a Penny Annie production, pal. This is just the debate. Here, I'll give you some music. I don't have that music up anymore. Too bad. We'll let the let's see. Yeah, I've got some music for you. If you want to play some music.
Where's Spanky at?
I don't know.
No.
Not sure.
Okay.
Not sure where he's at.
Wow, Crash is really killing it in our top fans this month.
I don't understand. How's Crash killing it? Yeah.
She has the most hearts.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah. By like 500. Yeah. Good for her.
I love her. I'm having a lot of fun with her. Come on, where is it?
Uh-huh.
Hey, SD Patriot, what's up? Hey, we're getting ready to crank up the debate. We're going to do a little pre-show here, a little pre-party, get things rolling. Welcome to YouTube. How are you doing over there, my brother? Are you still over in Tennessee, SD Patriot? Thank you. Thank you. It's a great hat. It is an awesome hat. Let's see here. Oh, I got a little music.
Yeah, I told him that he's going to have to get a new one after November. So
it's true. Here, a little background music for you while we get things going.
Oh, don't play too loud. I'll fall asleep.
Okay. Well, it's just listen to it. It's relaxing, patriotic music because I know I need to. Oh, our good friend SD Patriot is back in the Blacklands, the Black Hills, those things.
Oh, wow, very cool.
Yeah. So, I gotta ask, what are you anticipating out of this debate? Slightly.
I think I'm thinking we're gonna just continue to see what we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks. So we're gonna see Kamala Harris, as many are calling her, Comrade Harris.
Yeah.
She's going to dodge anything about policy. She's going to just try to say how bad the color orange is.
I think you're right. And did you see that Comrade Harris, she released her policy planks for the election on her website. Did you see that?
I have to go check it out. Let's see. Kamala Harris. Meet Kamala Harris.
Yep. She now has policy, but the funny thing...
where the hell is it?
I don't know. Did they take it off? They had some issues with it.
No, it says is the daughter of parents who brought her. The daughter of parents who owned slaves. She forgot that part. Civil rights marches in a stroller. God. Now she's running for president. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. As vice president, she's been a trusted partner to President Joe Biden, trusted so she doesn't leak how incompetent he is, and powerful, make change for the people. How's the change for the people working out for people?
That's a really good question. Now, the interesting thing, hey, BP and Eric over on Podbean, we got SD Patriot over on the beautiful Facebook or YouTube. And hello to everybody on Rumble. This is the Slightly Doomed Show. We're presenting the 2024 presidential debate between Donald J. Trump and Kamala Comrade Harris. It is going to be a cage match. There are no holds barred, but we will be muting the mics for the candidates, so you won't hear any of the crosstalk. James and I will do our very best to lip read and to provide you with that information.
Or what they're thinking.
Yep. Hey, Nick is over here on Podbean.
Let's see. I don't see where her policies are. They must have taken them down.
They must have, because the problem, here's the fun stuff. The problem they had with them, all they did is they copied and pasted from Joe Biden's candidacy website. and put them on hers, because at the bottom of the statement, it was awesome. It said, "Help me to reelect Joe Biden."
Oh my God, that's great. That's fantastic. So she still has no policies, except for the ones that she's stealing from Donald Trump. As far as building, let's see, she wants to two things. I think number one was she wants to not tax tips like Donald Trump.
Yep.
And I think she's okay with building border walls now.
Yep. Go for the border. That's right.
Yeah. I don't know why she didn't do that in the last 3.5 years as borders are, but.
Well, and here's the problem. She was the deciding factor for the inflation blow up package. She cast the vote that sent that to the president's desk so he could sign that into law, which in turn employed 87,000 new IRS agents to go after the taxes on tips.
Yes. Gotta love that.
Yep.
And hopefully, when Donald Trump becomes president again, he'll fire all 87,000 IRS agents.
Oh, he better. He better get rid of all of them. But I tell you, the one thing that nobody has been able to define to me, and CNBC has been having a wonderful time. Joe Kernan on CNBC, the morning anchor, has been talking to all of the Kamala Harris representatives who come through and tell them that, you know what, our economic plan is going to be great. We're going to give $25,000 to all the first-time home buyers. And here's the thing. We're going to tax corporations at 28%, highest tax rate ever for corporations. But somehow we're going to institute building small businesses.
Right, but here's the catch.
Yes.
Once those small businesses that she's giving all this money to, once they become successful, they're going to tax the shit out of them to where they have to sell their business.
Okay, so in the IRS tax code, you're a business owner, right?
Yep.
Okay, you've gone through this. In the tax code, does it say, are you a large corporation? Does it tax you based on your revenues or on your capital or anything, or is it just one set standard?
You're taxed based on what type of company you are.
Well, that is true too.
And your revenue.
And you have to pay those taxes quarterly. You don't get to wait till the end of the year and say, here's my check or give me a rebate or whatever. You have to, it's up to you, and you will get hammered if you don't pay your quarterly taxes. You have to figure out what your quarterly taxes are going to be.
Yep.
Government doesn't give you a scale. Okay, if you're a $1 million business, then you need to pay us $250,000.
Right.
Or if you're 10 million, we would need, we need 2.5 million or any of that good stuff.
Well, that's why I never understood why not just do a flat tax across the board for everybody?
Well, a consumption tax, flat tax across the board, federal government, 10%. You go in and you buy gas. Gas is taxed at 10%. You don't have all this convoluted BS about, 32 cents goes to the state, 45
cents goes to the feds. And
exactly. And then you've got to pay. Well, wait a minute. There's the EPA tax that goes on top of that because it's fossil fuel. Oh, and then transportation tax because you've got to either put it on rails or put it on the highways. I mean, it's free.
And then California's gas tax that they use to, it's supposed to fix the roads, but trust me, I've seen more traffic cones here in the city of Las Vegas than I've seen in my lifetime in California.
Well, that's the roads leading into the country. That's at the southern border.
Yes,
that's not the roads that you're driving on. You got to remember
They're
how that works.
Traffic roads, huh?
That's it. Welcome in to Podbean, everybody. Todd Jelly from Down Under. Jelly is sitting down there. I'm sure she's got her popcorn. It's like the middle of the afternoon. This is going to be fun to witness.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yes, politics in the United States. And I'm so happy that she's on board with this.
This debate tonight, I mean, Scooter and I should be charging you guys to listen to this.
To the commentary, not to the debate.
Yes, the commentary, yes.
Can't charge for that kind of crap because hopefully...
No. But it'll be entertaining, though. It'll be like the biggest entertainment night in America for national television.
It will be, yes. It's going to be a fun night. The other thing that I want to understand and I was alluding to Joe Kernan on CNBC just ripping into her policy advisors and her economic advisors about how they're not going to raise taxes or how they're going to raise taxes. But here's the thing. She wants to give $25,000 to all first-time home buyers. Where's that money coming from?
Well, you know what California is doing, right?
Well,
California wants to give illegal aliens 20%, their 20% down payment, upwards of $150,000.
Right.
For an illegal alien to purchase a home.
Well, here's the fun thing. Newsom vetoed that bill.
He did veto, but just for the pure principle that they would even bring that to the floor.
Well, see, the neighbors to the north, you know what state's north of California?
Let's see. Washington?
No, Oregon.
I mean, Oregon, yeah.
Oregon is doing that. Oregon is giving illegal aliens money to buy homes, and I think it's $30,000. I think it's that number that they came up with in California.
So how like, what if you or I wanted $30,000?
Nope, you don't get it. But here's the thing. You get to reach into your pocket and you get to hand out that money, because the problem is the government has not, will never create revenue. They don't create a product and sell it that people need.
No, they just collect it from you and I.
They take the money from you and I, and then they give it to other people. And that's where this $25,000 is going to, it's the rescue.
It's robbery. It's theft.
No, it's the rescue of the rich college students all over again.
Well, it's basically paying student loan debt.
Mm-hmm. That's all it is. That's all the Democrat Party has. We'll give you something if you vote for us, if you keep us in power.
But that's the problem, though. How is this not considered theft? That would be like the illegal alien going to the bank and robbing the damn bank for $30,000.
Yep. It's legal for them to do it. We can't do that. You cannot walk into a institution of savings and loan and then hold up a gun and say, give me the money, and walk out. That you would go to jail for.
Well, yeah, they would too, but probably just for a court hearing and then be released.
Yep. Well, there you go. There you go. Go before the judge. Oh, you're illegal? Okay, see ya. Come back in 6 years.
No hablo inglés.
Yeah.
I still want to do that test. I'm telling you. We need to find a Hispanic listener out there.
Well, we are getting that in the works. As a matter of fact, you know Spanky's son-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So we are at some point going to have Spanky's son-in-law on here. And Mama Bear said, I'm handsome. And she also said hello to you on Podbean, just to let you know. So.
Oh, well, hello to you as well there, Mama Bear.
Yeah. But I'm handsome. Yep.
That's all right.
Hey, handsome and slightly.
I'm just lucky to be alive.
Yes, you are. You had me worried. You had Crash worried. Right. There were several people worried.
Hey, life is tough. I'm telling you.
SD Patriot in South Dakota is now officially identifying as Mork from Mork. So he is an official alien, but he's not from the right part of the universe.
Planet.
So you don't get anything. Sorry, Big T.
Yeah. You got to be from down south.
But the other interesting thing that.
What about discrimination? Isn't it discriminatory that they're doing this? I mean, there's got to be something on the laws, in the laws.
Oh, there is, but they're just going to ignore them like they do with the aliens coming across the border. It's a felony to cross into the United States if you don't do it the correct and proper way.
So would a person have standing?
Yes.
If they committed a felony?
Yes.
A citizen. And basically go to the judge and say, you can't prosecute me for a felony. You're not prosecuting them for felonies.
No. See, even though the precedent has been set, you're a citizen. They're not. See, in that respect, they're going to say our laws do not apply to a non-citizen. But,
neither should our freedom then.
But we, as United States citizens, have to answer to the world court. I've got a very important question to ask you. Jelly is wondering, all the way from down under, how did pegging go? Was that
Did you say pegging?
Pegging. I said pegging. This is the perfect show to talk about pegging. We've got Kamala Harris coming on, and I gotta wonder, is she gonna have her support emotional animal Tim Waltz, Tampon Tim, standing next to her during the debate?
I think he's gonna be standing backstage with a bag of Doritos.
Okay, here's your Doritos.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well,
either that or maybe they are liberal, so maybe she'll have him on a little leash.
Ooh, there'll be a long leash.
It would be a long
It'll be a long leash. The other question that I'm looking to get answered. So where's the $25,000 for each new home buyer coming from? Where is it? I wanted to say it's coming out of the taxes.
Oregon taxpayer.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that she's wanting to, and this is what CNBC had a huge issue with. Unrealized capital gains.
Oh my! I have a huge problem with that.
You're taxing air. You're taxing air.
You can't tax something that's not realized. That's like saying, you know what, Scooter, in the next 20 years, I think you're going to be making about $2 million. So you know what? You need to fucking fork up like 200 grand to me.
Yeah, today,
right now.
Your home, based on your home's value, how are they going to figure this out for the year? Your home's value.
Don't even go there.
Yeah, it's appreciated in value. So now you have an unrealized capital gain. If you sold it, you could get an extra $100,000 in profit. Here's the deal: you got to pay taxes on that $100,000 in profit. That
ahead of time.
Yeah, you got to pay, but. What happens when they tank the market? Real estate just drops like Obama in 2008. What exactly will happen? Do you get a refund when the value of your price goes down? When the value of your stocks portfolio goes down?
How my question to you is this: how are you going to get a refund when you know they've already spent the damn money?
Well, they can just print money. That's how we get inflation. I mean, that's what you've learned.
So they're going to take unrealized gains, tax out the ass, give it to the illegals to go buy homes, and then eventually they're going to have to print money, and everyone's fucked.
Well, we're all fucked right now, so I'm not sure what it is that you're getting at. Because
well, at least right now there's some lube.
I don't think so. Spitting on it doesn't count.
Or maybe spit, but
Hawk Tua does not count. It's not the way this works.
Oh my God! Out your the mama bear says out your ass.
That's
we'll be passing out tampons.
That's where BP is looking to get them. And you guys in the chat, do you have anything that you're looking for tonight, either from Donald Trump or from Kamala Harris? Is there anything that you would like to hear from him? An explanation? Just let us know. We'll be looking for that. Naida.
Welcome to Monday, Naida.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Let's see. We got a few people watching over on the beautiful. Here, we're going to switch to.
You know what? I can't believe this.
What is it that you can't believe?
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
I think we did. Well, I didn't do it with you, but I've been doing this since last presidential election, like 4 years now.
Wow. Congratulations.
Oh, no.
That's awesome.
I think I had less gray hair back then.
Yep. Here, I'm gonna pop it on over here because we're getting ready to go. We're 8 minutes and counting. So let's just let's get online. We're going to be watching it care of Real America's Voice. I just seem to like this this feed. It works best. We could jump over to ABC, but that scares me. Oh
my God! That's a reminder that Halloween's coming.
We're getting real fucking close.
Podfather said, "Perfect question that Trump should ask tonight. Should ask us as citizens? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?"
Well,
that's the perfect question.
I think that's the question he's been asking all along throughout all of his rallies and his campaign. Oh my God! I didn't know he was alive.
God. It looks like they continue to allow him to eat cheeseburgers.
Evidently.
Who's a perv?
You know, one thing I'm disappointed in that I haven't heard Trump say at all.
What?
it would have been the perfect campaign slogan. I've said this all along.
Mm-hmm.
All he had to start saying is, "I told you so." Basically, back the last presidential election, how he was telling everybody what was going to happen if they elected Joe Biden.
Exactly. Exactamundo. I can't look at this guy. Holy crap! Look, we'll go back to these beautiful people. I love this this young lady on Real America's Voice. Do you know her? What her name is?
Which one?
Upper left hand corner of the box.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if it was the bottom right or not.
Well, no, that's Big D. That's God. Big D. I'm familiar with Damon. Big D.
Yeah.
He's.
I don't know who the female is. I don't watch Real America's Voice very much.
Just for the naming of the anchors, you should watch it because that is the lovely and talented Amanda Head.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it is an entertaining yet informative television station. I like what they do. I guess we could, let's see, we got 6 minutes. We'll cut over in a few minutes.
Yeah.
We don't have to jump over just yet, but welcome in, everybody. This is the simulcast of the Rumble in the Jungle 2024 presidential debate featuring Donald John Trump and Kamala Harris. Okay, we're going to give out bonus points this evening. What is Kamala Harris's middle name?
I thought you were going to say what her ethnicity was.
No. Well, that's another one. That's another one. But we're going to be giving out points. That's right.
Her middle name?
What is her middle name?
I thought it was Haktua.
No. That's just what she identifies as.
Oh, okay.
Haktua Harris. But
I don't know. I never thought of it.
Sadly, I actually know. But we'll see.
Anybody in the chat? Any guesses? Give me some guesses at least. Come on.
Let's see here.
Devil.
Jelly says devil. Jelly. Keep that down under. Don't be telling. That's it. Kamala Devi. Heavy Harris. She even at one point went by her mother's maiden name. I think while they were in Canada, and that's.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's Patel Manalahama Mandalalmalo.
No, is it really?
Yep.
That's her middle name?
Devi. Devi is her middle name.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Kamala Devi.
I misread that. I thought Jelly had wrote devil. I'm sorry.
No, well, it's short for devil.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, good on you. You know what, Jelly? I'm very impressed. I mean, probably 99% of people here in America would never have known what the hell it was.
Well, they actually changed her name because her father named her one thing, and then they changed it after the old man, the socialist, went back to Jamaica or whatever.
Like father and like daughter, huh?
Yep. So it is Kamala Devi Harris.
Now, was it her parents that owned slaves or just her family from back in the day?
No, it was her family. It was her father's family, Jamaica, where her father came from. Yes, she is related to one of the most evil and notorious Irish slavers. You can look it up. I'm not saying anything out of...
She enslaved my people.
Yes. Well, she enslaved the brothers that she put in jail in California. Yeah. I mean, so it was natural.
We'll talk about this on another show, but I had a great conversation with a young couple of guys on one of my rides. And we had a long conversation because we talked about how the females are now calling, telling each other, hey, bro, and all that.
Right.
We started talking about how all females are starting to becoming more masculine now.
Yeah.
And now how roles have reversed to where like the popular music is rap.
Right.
You won't see any, black guys hiring, white rappers.
Nope.
And no, it's pretty good.
Oh, Reince Priebus. What a guy. No, I don't want to look at him.
I don't like him. He looks like a penis head.
He does. He looks like a guy that I used to work with. And I like the guy that I worked with, but I didn't like him that much. So, anyway. Yeah, we'll get this. Let's see what we're talking about here. We'll jump in. Yeah.
Hard race to call,
okay.
Partly because people are so, not only are they beleaguered by this economy and by the wars around the world and the open border, but also their utter disdain for the media and their skepticism of it.
No, institutional distrust. And that's very important because you see that in polling now. People don't trust big institutions anymore, big tech, big government, big politics, big media. And Donald Trump is the wrecking ball to all those institutions. And Kamala Harris is the building goddess of all those kinds. She believes in those institutions. She hails them. And I think that contrast it goes back to what Damon was saying. The change agent. There is no possible way Kamala Harris can portray herself as a change agent. And Donald Trump will be very glad to say, I'm the wrecking ball. Let me swing. I'll take care of this. And I think that's what Americans are looking for. They're looking for a Rough Rider right now, a Teddy Roosevelt Rough Rider who's not afraid to buck the system, break the system, and fix the system. And I think that's going to be a moment tonight that he'll be able to close that case, I think.
And let me tell you, America first.
So I guess the best thing would be is Donald Trump going to bareback Kamala Harris. I want to know. Is that what we're doing? Oh, there's the lovely and talented Amanda. God
Mrs. Ed.
Yes.
She got a big old neck.
Why was he there? Because we need those rural voters to turn out in dramatic fashion. Those are the people who are most skeptical of the media and the institutions and are backing Donald Trump.
Yeah, and you're not going to see
the dude on the bottom left. What's up with his hair?
She goes to the big cities.
Right.
I love, John, your reference. I'm going to update it a little and say that he's a combination of Teddy and Tupac. He is going to, I think he's going to have quite a lot to say, and he's going to have his own special flair in the way of doing that. All right, we've just got about a minute left. I want to get a cheer track from the America First Warehouse. David Zier, I want those beautiful Americans to take it away for a few moments.
Yeah. This guy, look at this guy. He's like a gangster. Listen to him.
And Amanda, I just wanted to introduce you to Leslie and Arlene nurses in New York. In about 30 seconds, the nurses, people who wouldn't vax, got fired. Are nurses waking up about some of the dangers of the vax and other issues?
Yes, I have to believe that they are. We were mandated by New York State in order to take the vaccine in order to keep our jobs. Was something really difficult, but healthcare is the #1 issue for us as nurses that go. There's so much to go with illegal immigrants and healthcare and where they're getting it and everything that comes from it.
Are more nurses going to go for Trump this year? 10 seconds.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I've been talking to so many people. They are going to vote for Trump.
All right, back to you, Amanda. Can't wait for the debate.
All right, everybody. Okay, so I think that we are within just a few moments of that debate starting, so time now to get you out to that simulcast. But before we do, I want to give a quick thank you to TrumpKnifeSet.com. Everybody head over there and sign up for that. Let's get you out to Philadelphia and the debate.
Wow, look at those eyes. Oh, you guys need to be watching. We're going to extend
for a minute. So, Brian, I want to ask you a question. When President Trump started having...
Kamala's not going to show up.
That'd be funny if she just said the hell with it. I'm not showing up.
Exactly. So, no, I'm not coming. I'm not coming. We'll pop out. We'll see if we can pick it up anywhere else here. Because I was going to get it from C-SPAN. You know that. I've got ABC. Oh, yep. Come on, pop it over. Here we go.
Here it is.
Are they coming out?
Coming on.
Here we go.
Very much in play. The ABC News presidential debate starts right now.
This is an ABC News special.
I'm not a fan of David Muir. Look at him. He's too pretty.
I used to like him when he did 2020.
He was pretty good on 2020, but now as the anchor, yeah.
We will soon be a great nation again. Face to face, historic. The ABC News presidential debate. Here now, David Muir.
I hope everybody's popcorn.
Good evening, I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Do they shake hands?
That'll be a good question.
I say yes.
Oh, she's going in.
Let's have a good debate.
Yeah, that a boy.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Whoa.
Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
It's bullshit.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook. A bunch of lies, grievances, and
trying to get under his skin early, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. She knows better than anyone. I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So
that's good.
Ooh.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future.
I can't. We got to welcome Amber May to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Amber May joining us all the way from the beautiful Sunset, Arizona Strip.
What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
How many people think she has an earpiece in her ear and someone's telling her all this stuff?
I bet she does.
Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20%.
He's talked about this on Oprah's show back in the 1980s or early 90s.
Yes, he did. And he hasn't. He's been steady on everything he believes.
On gas, food,
100%.
clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed
red meat's
the
hard to buy right
And
now.
all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling.
No, she is not coming up with this on her own, guys. She's not that smart.
Well, and it's a lie because we didn't have any trade wars. You could actually purchase gasoline. You could purchase goods from China at a discounted rate than what you're spending now.
Which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
Whoa, wait, whoa.
They bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say.
Venezuelan gangs taking over the states.
Yeah. Chicago, Aurora, Colorado.
To our country. They're
New
criminals.
York.
Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you are.
And Trump was landing the body blows. Kamala's just, she's swinging at the wind.
Pro-life president
Yeah,
in
she
American
is.
history.
At least she was able to laugh, though.
Yeah, she got a silent cackle in. I don't know if you saw it.
I did.
Many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short, and you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before. He said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country.
After the abortion.
Exactly.
Yep.
But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to
Yes, that's a lie. Fact check, fact check.
It's a lie.
A surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal.
No, they're not Trump abortion bans. They're abortion bans because the people of those states don't want that.
Exactly.
Ding, 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 ding.
And abortion is not illegal in all 50 states. You can get an abortion in all 50 states. What you cannot get is a cosmetic abortion.
Right.
You have to accept the responsibility for your actions because you decided to have sex. I can't listen.
Yep.
It's not it's not birth control. Abortion should not be used for birth control.
It's not. It's killing a human.
Yeah. So give it up for adoption if you don't want the baby.
Yep.
There are a lot of good couples out there that would love children and would love to have them.
Oh, I know. I know them. I know them very well.
In an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
That's not true.
She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
He just said you wouldn't be forced for
pledge
that.
to you,
I just said that.
When Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But
It's bullshit.
If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion.
She is trying so hard to tie Project 2025 to she's trying to get under his skin.
American people believe
It's not working. It's going in one ear, out the other.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it.
This is a stupid hypothetical. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's in the States. It's done. It's a done deal.
Right.
A lot of other people that had loans.
Why are the Democrats so afraid of people actually voting?
Wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact
I don't know.
for years they wanted to get it
because that's exactly what Kamala is talking about. She doesn't.
Why don't the Democrats want people to have babies? That I don't understand. Why don't they want people to have so much love in their heart that it explodes? I mean, you're a dad, I'm a mom. The second you have that child, it's a different love that you've ever known in your whole entire life. It's a completely different love. A love that's so explosive that you can't contain it, that you go to the ends of the earth for. Why don't they want their people to feel that way?
Democrats don't want people thinking for themselves.
It's insulting
Bingo.
to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country?
How does that?
Working people,
how is that abortions?
Yeah.
It's not an abortion. And people can have IVFs. They do it every day.
As it is.
There's no ban on IVFs.
No, there's not. There was in Alabama, Supreme Court said you've got to stop the IVF until we figure out what's going on with the law in the state of Alabama. Had nothing to do with the rest of the country.
Yeah, because in Arizona, I know couples all the time that are getting IVF. So another lie from Kamala Harris.
Not the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot in red and blue states
you're right.
both,
He publicly said that he is in favor of supporting
freedom.
these things.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Oh,
Wade,
they're letting the mics go.
You could do abortions in the
Yeah,
7th month,
that's
the
supposed
8th
to be
month,
muted.
the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside, and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
What about the governor of
We're going to
California?
turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris.
Democrats want new voters. Republicans want to keep people coming in the right way.
Illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It
To help
would
them
have
process
allowed
people,
us
yes.
to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow
affected by it.
transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer...
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've already discussed this bill that the moron James Lankford bipartisanly put together with the Democrats. It was money for the Ukrainians.
Yes, and in addition to allowing millions of illegal aliens into the United States still every year.
Yes, it would raise the number of folks who could come in unobscured. They could cross over the border any place they wanted to.
And I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer.
No, he
and
won't.
what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your
Yes, he does all the
desires.
time.
And I'll tell you,
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
He brings people up on stage, normal, everyday people.
President Harris, thank you.
Yeah.
President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there.
Paying them.
And
Yep.
then showing them in a
I
different
have
light.
found proof of that.
So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because
He's
people
right.
want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city.
So now we're going to debate against the moderators.
Reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
moderators
President,
debating the politician.
Yeah. Well, because this is Kamala Harris's. Yep, there's the cackle.
Because she's using her ass. That's why.
One of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain.
Fake Republicans.
Yep.
Establishment people.
And Congress member.
People who are worried about getting outed on Weinstein's list.
The inside track on who the former president
or Epstein. I'm sorry, Epstein.
Already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president, in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the
it is. ABC, I mean, the lady that runs ABC is her best friend. So how can this be fair? Why do you have to debate the moderators?
How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down. All over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country.
But because they're not reporting it. That's why it's coming down, because they're not reporting the crime. It's fake.
Include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President.
Well, I think this is so rich coming
Seriously,
from someone
they
who
just
has
cut
been
him off like that?
prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Where each
At least
person
he didn't go
stands
suck off people to get to where they are.
Exactly.
and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents.
You.
Get this.
You did that.
On the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric. And
Yeah, because you're losing this debate because everything you're saying is a lie and your policies suck.
Housing shortage, which I have a plan for. Address what we must do to support our small businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and
They did that
Fani
with
Willis
Richard Nixon,
to
too.
the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made
You should say,
them
and then they
go
try to
after
kill
me.
me.
By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no
Same for our military members when you don't even talk to the 13 families that lost a loved one.
It's up to the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay.
Wow. Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made.
Her values have not changed. That means when she gets to office, all those things she campaigned for or wanted to do will still be done. She's just lying to your face so you don't vote for her.
She's just saying to get the votes.
Act,
That's all it is, because she just told you the truth. Her values have not changed.
To invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to...
She wants to talk about building buildings and development with the man who's made a successful career out of it, worldwide.
Women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your response?
First of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now.
Nailed them out. Oh, I love it. Fucking there's the line fight right there.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
It really destroys the habitat and kills birds flying above the solar panels. It fries them, essentially.
And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy.
He did not get that. He did not get that. My parents were a witness the day he was getting sworn in. They got tickets to the inauguration, and they had a whole protest full of people that forbade people with ticket holders to the swearing in, forbade them. They were locking arms and not letting anyone in.
Yep.
And the police were standing by, and the military was standing by, and people had to sneak away to get into the inauguration.
Yep. What you did on that day.
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just
You
were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember.
He did not say that.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Militia. The president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law.
The only country they stand for is fucking Ukraine.
And to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back.
That was a lie, too.
Let's chart
Yep, that was a big lie.
for the future.
Right.
And not go backwards to the past.
How come David Muir is it? How come?
Was
He's
a
not
different
cutting her
term,
off
and
at
it was
all.
a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border. How come she's not doing anything? Yeah. And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate, because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you, because it really brings us
100% right, though. If she really cares about the border.
That we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years
do everything she's campaigning on right now.
Repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it.
Crazy's on a roll tonight.
And you know this. You and your allies, 60 cases.
And she doesn't have pumpkin spice, James.
They said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics. But
I have an upcoming show about Arizona, specifically in Maricopa County, in a couple weeks.
Nice.
And the problem that we have right now
Clear as day
is
evidence.
we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by
Did
81 million
you hear
people.
that questioning?
So let's be clear about that.
Oh my gosh, that was like the worst question you could ask. That's like setting someone up for, here, I want this particular answer, so I'm going to set it up this way, so you can only answer this way.
In the past to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States. And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
She's going to go to Europe.
With military leaders, some of whom work
Yeah,
with
she said
you.
she's never been to Europe.
Say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart, Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to
she had 700 votes total when she ran the first time.
Among them, Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said...
Who are the hostages?
President Biden has not been able to...
The Israelis.
How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock,
yeah, I think so too.
Understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran,
I think
and
we have a
any threat that
one-state
Iran and its
solution.
proxies pose to
The two-state solution's not really working out so well.
where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians
all
in
of
Gaza?
Hamas up.
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself.
Oh my
It is
God.
well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that.
Is anybody buying these personal attacks on Donald Trump?
No.
He's a disgrace, and all these people hate him. But it's the same military.
It's actually the opposite of what she's saying. All of the leaders around the world would love for her to become president because they can walk all over her.
Exactly.
By allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it. Because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this
They
historic
never
ABC
cut
News
Kamala
presidential
off,
debate from the National
ever.
Constitution Center.
Not one time have they interrupted her.
Nope.
Every fucking time they interrupt him.
And they left her mic on so she could say things. They wanted her to get in the, excuse me, I'm talking now. But
yeah,
Trump
beat her to it. God.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was an awesome moment.
I like
that was. That's gonna be the bit of the night.
That'll be that. Yeah, we've got it captured. It will be used many, many times. But I wonder how many of the CNN and MSNBC journalists are out there rushing to call everything that Trump has said a lie.
Oh, let's go. Let me check on CNN
Yeah.
website. See.
Bring that up because so far Kamala she's gotten the abortion ban. She lied about that. The fracking ban, she's against fracking and she's flip-flopping, but she still lied about it. I want to know who's paying for these 3 million homes that she wants to build if she becomes president of the United States.
I have no idea.
Where's that money coming
He
from?
wants us all to be poor. My cousin said this perfectly. He bought a house in February, first-time home buyer. And under Donald Trump, there was like a tax credit you could get for first-time home buyers.
Yep.
As soon as like February happened, right before he bought a house, the Biden administration cut the tax credit on first-time home buyers. And he was so upset because Kamala is now out there saying, the first-time homebuyers, was it 25,000 tax credit or something like that?
That's what she's wanting to give.
That's what she's saying, but under their administration, they cut the tax credit for first-time homebuyers. So when she's saying she wants to help people get into homes, again, a lie. Look at her record. Don't listen to what people say. Look what they do, because actions speak louder than words.
That's the whole point. And she's trying to, the word salad that she's throwing out there has been fantastic. It's been epic. The gun ban, she has said that she wants to take away everybody's guns. She doesn't mind going door to door. I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see it. And then find people on both sides. That's a lie.
The first fact check that we have ABC running is Trump's claims that migrants are arriving to U.S. from prisons and mental health institutions. They're saying that there's no evidence to support that claim.
Yes, there is. There's a lot of evidence.
Let's see. Harris Trump over former officials who have turned on him. That's another headline that they're going with.
Mm-hmm.
Harris invites people to attend a Trump rally because, quote, it's a really interesting thing to watch. And then fact check, Trump on inflation during his presidency. He said, I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. And they're saying that is false. Cumulative inflation over the course of Trump's presidency was about 7.8%.
Well, that's not true.
Says inflation was low at the end of Trump's term, having plummeted during the COVID-19 pandemic. The year-over-year inflation was about 1.4% in January 2021. The month Trump left office.
That's when he left office, and that's what he gave to him. That's pretty much no inflation.
That's pretty much none.
That doesn't make eggs $4 a carton.
And then they go with
I remember
Kamala Harris.
going to buy groceries for $150 to $200, and when I went this last time, it was $400. Big jump.
And they want to fact check Harris's claim about Trump's tariffs plans. The claim is reasonable enough, but it's worth explaining that Harris is referring to Trump's proposal to implement new tariffs if he returns to the White House. Let's see. Crosstalk is audible despite ABC's muted mic rule, so they brought that up.
But because they're leaving the mics open
on
purpose for her, so she can rebut anything that he says.
They know she's losing this debate, and that's why they're steering questions towards her like they are. That's why they're cutting him off and not her.
Right.
They're allowing her mic to be live, hot, I guess, as they would say. And I think Trump's doing a great job tonight. Harris she's doing, I think, better than expected.
I expected this from her. I expected all fluff, and I expected her all accusations. She's trying to get under Trump's skin.
But it's not working. It's going in one ear, out the other.
Exactly. He's being presidential.
And I think I don't think she's
presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for $250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question,
perfect.
Do you believe it's in the U.S. best interests for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
I bet she says she's going to be tough.
It's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Ooh.
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans.
Well,
Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that
She's
I
not
and others
helping herself, because nothing she did stopped the war.
to support
Right.
Ukraine
Did she go to
in its
Putin, though?
Yeah, when did she talk to Putin?
because of our support, because of the air defense,
And
the
nothing
ammunition, the
changed with the war. He still invaded, many got killed, and so she's not really helping herself.
But they've got $250 billion of ours in their pocket.
in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because
She's not
Putin's
helping
agenda
herself by
is
going
not
on and
just
on about
about
this.
Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the
Yeah, but they don't have to
importance of
fucking
the
contribute $1.
Exactly.
which is NATO.
That's why they're thankful.
we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting
That's
with Poland.
scare
And why don't you
tactics.
tell
No,
the
that's not
800,000
what his
Polish
goal was.
Americans
It was to
right here in
take back what
Pennsylvania
was taken from his country years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If the rest of European countries aren't that worried, then
That's
why
why
are
they're
we
not
that worried?
contributing. If they were worried, they would contribute to it.
Vice President Harris,
That's
thank you. We've heard
exactly
from both of
right,
you on
slightly.
Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Why isn't his mic hot?
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something.
She goes down.
She is a horrible
She
negotiator.
does go down.
They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about...
She's never met with Putin.
Yeah, so that's why there's a fucking
as a
war.
leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding
Is
that
anyone
the
in this
alliances
podcast in the chat believing that she did anything good for the war in Ukraine?
That's a great question.
favor our enemies because you adore strong men instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first
answer
hour
that
of this
question
debate.
at all?
I want to move on to
word
Afghanistan.
salad to me.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
To where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not,
what does it have to do with her question to Afghanistan? Why isn't he cutting her off?
Yeah.
And she asked about Biden and his withdrawal of Afghanistan. Trump was not a part of that withdrawal.
Right.
And to clarify here, actually, Yasser Arafat, a terrorist leader of the Palestine Liberation Organization, has been to Camp David.
Yep.
Several times.
Wasn't that under the Bushes?
No, that was under Clinton. That was under
Clinton, okay.
Yeah, it was Clinton, and that was also under Carter.
A lot of them with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved, and Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst.
No, David wants to move on. He doesn't like hearing
Yeah,
about
of course
this.
he wants to move on because he's saying good points.
Yep. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
It's
I
true.
want to ask a bigger picture question.
It is true.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black,
Indian?
that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
He never
You know, I
did.
do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want.
However, her
this kind
boss,
of
she says her
approach
boss is racist, so.
Very much so. And she told him. She called him a racist. Biden is a racist.
How Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent. The Central
They were criminals.
Took out a full
She
page
only
ad
likes criminals.
Pretty much.
This is the same individual
He loves thugs.
who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this.
That's his opinion. He's
What does
entitled
this have to do with
Understands as I
her
do, I
being
travel our
black
country.
and Indian?
We
She was
see in
Indian
each
for a long
other
time,
a
then she
friend.
turned
We
black.
see in each other a neighbor.
What? This has nothing to do with that question, and he's not cutting her off.
No.
Trying to have
No, he's not.
Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations
Why
and
do
the
you think
ambitions and
Trump
the
just didn't say the truth to where it's that he found it ironic how all of a sudden she says she's black because she needs the black vote?
Right.
Why don't you come out and say that?
and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond.
You got
briefly.
cut off again.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families.
You
for
know,
the
all her
first year
plans include giving away fucking money.
yeah. Critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers.
Where's the money coming from?
Kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page.
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond because
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're going to.
I need to respond here too.
President Trump, this is now your third time running
This is
for
a shit
president.
show.
You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act,
he's not lying. She said it.
He is not lying. She wants to get rid of guns.
60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't...
Wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to get on with the conversation about policies.
It's because he was a uniparty member. He wasn't a full Republican.
No.
And said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication.
Yeah, no, that's not the actual case, ladies and gentlemen, and only because I purchase insulin.
The value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
of... You made a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to.
All right, we just lost Podbean, so we are on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have y'all here with us. We got hit with the 2-hour time limit, unfortunately, and we lost, dadgummit, we lost Amber May.
Yes, Amber May.
Ah.
To fight climate change, and Vice President Harris,
I think I'll crank it back up.
1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Wow.
Wow. Ah, woo.
We got Amber back.
All right. Welcome back, Amber.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. This Podbean went bye-bye.
Well,
okay.
We got hit with the time limit. Unfortunately, you can't broadcast on Podbean for more than 2 hours, and boom, it hit us. But,
Gotcha.
you know, we are over on Rumble, where the Amber May Show is also located on Rumble.
Hey, hey.
All right. So before we get into closing statements, real quick, Amber, tell everybody out there in the world where they can find your show and what you've got coming up.
Great. Right here on Podbean, you can find me, or on Rebel, where you can find the Beans and Weenie is Doom show. So either one of those, theambermayshow.com. And I am working on a show coming up in a couple weeks about the election interference here in Maricopa County. But I have a lot of other great shows. I even have, what's his name? I'm drawing a blank. The guy from 2000 Mules. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. He's going to be on my show coming up. Well, I can't think of his name. I have a whole bunch of people coming up lined up, so be on the lookout for the Amber May Show.
All right. So Amber May over on Rumble and here on Podbean, the Amber May Show. Just search for it. You'll find it. It's a great show. Are you going to have Dinesh D'Souza? Is that who I'm hearing?
No. Not Engelbert with the guy.
Okay.
What's his name? Right, I'm drawing a blank.
That's okay. Not a problem. I know you're doing other things there too, keeping the family homestead running. And real quick, slightly, where can everybody find you on X, Instagram, wherever you want to be found?
Over on X, at Slightly Serious. Make sure you follow me over there. You can get what's on the tip of my mind probably every other day, I'd say. But I mainly post there, so follow me over on X, Instagram. I don't have much time to be posting everywhere, so.
No, but if you want to have fun, okay. So now I've got to just bring this up real quick. I know she may be over on Rumble, but here's the beautiful thing. Besides checking out Slightly Serious over on X and seeing some of the interesting things and how often he gets banned on X for the things that he puts out there. The other fun account that everybody needs to be following is Crazy Legacy, Mayor Crazy over on X, because we've started the NFL football season. If you want to, just watching her tweets during any Green Bay Packer game is a hoot. It is awesome.
And when you do add her, start following her, please drop a photo of a pumpkin spice latte.
Oh my God, you did it. No. I'm not involved with the pumpkin spice mafia over here. That's James.
I love pumpkin spice for real. I know she probably does not based on the way you're talking, but I love it for real.
Oh, don't.
Oh,
I love all things pumpkin.
Oh my gosh, that's killing me. All right, don't say that anymore.
So, what do you guys think? Is Trump owning tonight?
Yeah, I want to know what people think.
I think he is, but I don't want to taint the. I don't want to taint the pool here.
Yeah, I don't know. What do our audience members think?
Yeah, well, we've got to get some of the audience members back, but I know that. Okay, so Crash hit me up here. So what she was saying is that Kamala Harris seems to be relying heavily on Biden's platform, which many argue lacks the innovative vision needed for today's challenges. It often feels like Obama is still pulling the strings, steering the campaign from the shadows rather than allowing for a fresh, independent perspective. I think that is a brilliant commentary from a Canadian.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I love that. Yeah, she was right on the money tonight with her commentary as far as I believe.
Most definitely. And then Eric, I lost the comment. Sorry, brother, because Podbean cut us off. But Eric had a great comment. Everybody that was in Podbean got to see it. And now
I think it had to do with black influencers over on TikTok, basically saying how Kamala is not not appropriating her own culture.
And here we go back. All right, let's see what we end up with.
We begin with you.
I'll mute in a second. Hold on.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National.
Oh, I can't listen to any more of those morons.
Oh my goodness! So here's a couple of things I took out. I heard in her closing remarks, Kamala said that she's someone who cares about you. How can that be true when you're letting illegal aliens come in to murder and rape citizens of this country? You're giving away taxpayer dollars. You want to build thousands of homes on taxpayer dollars,
right?
Wasn't it under her watch she lost thousands and thousands and thousands of children? Isn't it under her watch she's been trafficking kids to sex offenders, people who want adults that want to have sex and rape children? Yep. Wasn't that under her watch?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I guess she doesn't care about me because my grocery bill went from $150 to $400 under her watch. I guess she doesn't care about me because my gas went up 3 or 4 times since Donald Trump. So I don't know.
Well, she wants to raise. She also said tonight that she wants to raise people up.
I guess she doesn't care about the people of Colorado whose apartment building went under by a Venezuelan mafia, or the people of Chicago who get murdered every day.
Well, I'm thinking maybe she kind of miscalculated as far as raising people up, and instead she meant she wants to raise our prices up. I don't know.
Or she wants to raise everybody outside of the country up.
Yeah, that too.
I think that's where we're headed. I think she wants everybody else to have it just as good as what we have it in the United States. So let's bring them all here and just give them everything that we have. Give them the apartment buildings. Let them take lives. Let them rape people. It's just
murder people.
Yes, yeah. It's the new form of hope and change.
That is true.
It is it's Obama in the background saying, all right, this is what you got to do to get things to work right. You got to say this. You can do everything else you want when you get elected, but you say this. They've had power for the last 12 out of the 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't they done all these things they said they were going to fix?
What? And like Trump said, why doesn't she just go back to the White House? If you care about the American people, tell the fucking old man that doesn't know that he's alive that he needs to sign an executive order shutting down the border.
He even admitted he could do that. And he said he was going to sign an executive order. So she needs to go roust him out of bed, wake him up, put his hand on the pen, and let him sign that executive order, shut down the border.
Yeah, because I don't know who she exactly cares about with all those parents that have lost their children to fentanyl. She obviously didn't care about them. Nope. I'm just trying to figure out who is the people that she supposedly cares about.
Well, she also doesn't seem to care about the 12 military soldiers that died in Afghanistan.
Nope.
Right. She didn't even show up to that. She didn't even show up.
You know
why? Because blood is on her hands and his hands for that horrible debacle, that horrible exiting out of Afghanistan. I remember seeing on the TV and crying for all those people falling out of airplanes, for the mothers giving up their children to the soldiers because of the Taliban or whoever was going to come and raid their cities and destroy their cities, and their children were no longer safe. I was literally in tears watching all that happen.
Yep.
And then she turns around and gives the bad guys all the military equipment. It's like me. If a robber comes into my house and I have a gun and he doesn't, I say, oh, here you go, take mine.
Yeah. That's it. Now,
and she says she wants to create an opportunity economy. And by that, she just wants to give everybody freebies and handouts.
Well, not everybody.
Okay, your back, my back, his back, everyone listening, money doesn't come free.
Well, it has to come from somewhere. We talked about this just before you came on. The United States federal government and all of the state governments, they produce nothing. They provide nothing of monetary value. The only thing that they do is they take your money that you've earned and they redistribute it.
The redistribution of wealth.
That is all the
illegal aliens.
You can call it a tax. And here's the other thing that she lied about. When she passed Obamacare, when she was in the Senate, she passed Obamacare. What was the one thing that came along with that if you didn't happen to sign up for Obamacare in the allotted amount?
You got taxed.
You
Didn't
got taxed. Guilty.
You got a fine. Yes, IRS.
Fine.
You got a fine. IRS came after you.
This is bullshit.
It is. They had to, now, the one great thing that Trump did when he got into office, he got rid of the fine. He got rid of the mandate.
Right.
So now.
But he's the dictator, right?
Yeah.
He's the bad guy.
And the other thing I want to just throw out here, she said the first time in history that the United States military people are not involved in an active war zone anywhere in the world.
They're over there in Israel, near Israel.
They're in Israel. They are also in Syria. They are in Jordan. They are in Africa.
Iraq.
Matter of fact, they just killed some of our people down in the Congo, and the warlord down in the Congo said, "Get your ass out of here. Take your troops and hit the road."
Remember the Navy ships that were in the Middle East that had to take fire and then fire back? Remember that?
Yeah.
That was just
Still going on. Yeah, still going on. The Houthis are setting oil tankers on fire. They're firing on American ships of war. So that was a bunch of crap. But are they going to call her out on that?
No, they helped her.
Exactly.
That's why she wouldn't do anything but this organization, because I think Fox would have helped her too. They're not. Let's be real. They're not true conservatives over there.
No.
They have some good people over there. Don't get me wrong, but even those good people have their hands tied. They can't say just what they want. Look, Tucker had to leave because of it.
Well, Tucker did, and the thing is, I'm going to pull a slightly Damas prediction here.
What's that?
Okay, so my slightly Damas prediction is that the Department of Justice is now going to come after Donald J. Trump for FARA violations.
Who?
FARA. Foreign.
What is that?
I never heard of it.
Foreign agent. Oh, it has been. It was used against General Flynn. They prosecuted him for FARA violations.
That's right. But that's because of his business he was in. Even though he wasn't a foreign agent, he was a bodyguard for someone who was a dignitary in another. Another country.
The foreign
agent. And they tried to use that, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a true use of that law. But that's what they were going after him for.
And
what are they going to go after him for?
Because he stated that world leaders,
before he becomes president,
are still coming. World leaders are still
coming
calling
to
him
to talk to him.
He's communicating with foreign governments, and that is a no-no. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. That's what General Flynn was prosecuted for. That's what the co-chair of Trump's 2016 campaign, whatever his name was, that nobody ever talks about, was sent to jail for acting as a foreign agent, trying to broker.
The reporter, what was his name? And that guy, what was his name? The reporter guy?
No, not the reporter guy. This was actually the co-chair of Donald Trump's, and you can look it up. I forget what his name is.
So when he goes out and says that once he's elected, but before he gets inaugurated, that he's going to end these wars, would that be considered an issue?
No, because he's not talking to those people. But when Viktor Orban came over and talked to him, if he discussed any policies, if he told Viktor, like John Kerry told the Iranians not to do anything when Trump was president, when John Kerry met with Iranian officials and said, he's going to be out of office, don't worry about it, we'll make a new deal with you. When Trump pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, or whatever that crap was, where we gave him all that money, See, they only prosecute certain people because the Democrats are guilty of doing that. And
I was just gonna say.
When General Milley picked up the phone and called his counterpart in China, that is actually treason. So these people are working behind the scenes against him. I'm going to tell you the next thing, FARA violation, they're going to call Trump treasonous.
No, let's not say that too loud, but
oh, they've already got this planned because okay, so here's the deal. He was convicted of something in the state of New York that's not a crime, that they had to rewrite the laws to make it a crime because originally it's just a misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor, right.
Which comes with a fine, and that's basically it. And you get told not to do it again. But they took that, they had to turn it in circles. They had to twist it, wring it out, rewrite it, and they turned it into a felony.
Right.
Okay. And then she lied when she said he was liable for sexual assault. He was not guilty. He was not found guilty of sexual assault. He was found guilty of libel.
Right.
So that's, I mean, her words are just amazingly false. But that's who she is.
What about God, it was on the tip of my tongue. Give me a second.
Which one? The gun ban? People on both sides? The bloodbath? Gaza and Israel?
No. Oh no, I love how she says though that she's all about growing families. How can you be in favor of growing families when you want people to have abortions?
That's another great thing. I mean, you know what? Planned Parenthood was born from Margaret Sanger, who was an avowed and devoted racist. She thought black people were inferior, and she wanted to remove them from the face of the earth. That's where Planned Parenthood came from.
Wow.
And these people, Margaret Sanger, she was a role model for Hillary Clinton. She's a role model for Kamala.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where these people are, but they won't tell you that on surface. They'll say, we want you to be happy and we want you to grow and be prosperous. And we're just going to tell you all the good things that we want you to hear so you'll vote for us and then screw you.
What? And how many times did Harris tonight say we need to not look back and turn the page?
Oh, we'll have to go back and count that, but it was quite a few. And then she turned around after saying that, funny enough, called Donald Trump evil and turned to him and told him how much of a miserable person he was and a racist and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I'm thinking, and every time she's saying turning the page, that's going through my mind is let's get through this chapter and move on from the last 3.5 years of misery.
Yes.
That's the page I want to turn.
That's the page I want to turn too. But the question is, while you're turning that page, who are you going to trust to lead for the next 4 years? The people who couldn't do anything for the last 3.5?
Well, whose thing was it that said if you continue to believe in the same thing and the same shit occurs over and over, that you're just insane?
Well, it's
Einstein.
Yep, it's insanity.
Einstein?
No, wasn't it? It was wasn't it Young? Carl
No,
Jung?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was Einstein, wasn't it?
But basically, the people that are voting for Harris, thinking that there's going to be change. What change are you expecting?
Well, do you ever watch any of the TikToks or any of the Clapper
Not much.
videos out there about people who are voting for Kamala? She's nice. She's sweet.
She's a woman.
Yeah, she's a woman, and she's a black woman.
Well, can they at least tell us what a woman is?
No.
Oh. No. I just don't. There's no substance. She says that she's got a plan. There's no plan on her website. The plan that she did have, as you had mentioned, even Trump had mentioned, was basically a Biden plan. And I don't see no future for her. And I think she tried too hard tonight. I think she did a little bit better than I expected her to. I was expecting a little bit more word salad from her.
Yeah. She got in a couple of good words out.
She did, but not as good as Trump stealing her. Excuse me, I'm talking.
Exactly.
I love that.
That took the cake.
That was great.
That was awesome. Now, here's the thing. I got to throw props up to Amber May. Amber May, you were correct. Albert Einstein uttered the quote, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
So,
Yay, that one right.
there you go. if for those wanting to vote for Harris, you're just fucking insane because you're not going to get anything different than what you've seen the last 3.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, do
But
people...
here's the thing we have to remember. There's a lot of people that think we are crazy because every media they turn on, whether it's TV, radio, or a movie, a show, news, it's all saying the one thing over and over again, newspapers, whatever. Then they want to go search something on Google. Google scrubs and makes Donald Trump always look bad and Kamala Harris always look good. And so these people think they're getting good information because they're even going to Google. They're even seeing it on the big tech like Facebook and Instagram and still seeing like the same messaging. So to them, they really think they're getting the truth. And that's what's so sad. So just everyone keep that in mind that, you know, when we go out there, we're just going to have to plant seeds because they don't believe us.
Well, for the people that are looking at, you know, the news, the people that are searching Google, the people that feel that they need, I guess you would call it affirmation of what they should be thinking.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at all that shit, instead you should be turning all that shit off and taking a look at yourself in the mirror and seeing where you're at in life and how things are going for you.
Well, really,
that's what they need to do.
The Democrat.
It's almost like Munchausen syndrome, or wait, not that one. What's the one where you start falling in love with your captor?
That is Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. It's almost like that with people that have. I mean, come on, the indoctrination's so good. They know what they're doing. They create. Remember what Cambridge Analytica said? I mean, they know us better than we know ourselves. They put a profile together based on all of our social media.
Exactly.
So they make us love our captor. That's what they've done to people.
I completely agree, and I think you're right. And they have it down to a plan because they've been doing this for a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I don't get, and I don't understand. And it must be because these people that call themselves liberals can't think on their own. They can't think outside the box. They can't put one and one together and say that it's two. And maybe that's because you know, they learn that fucked up mathematics now that's in our school system.
They're morons.
But here's the thing, and I'm going to use the abortion as the prime example. Okay,
let's talk about it.
So Kamala Harris and all the rest of the Democrats want to make people in society think it's a Trump abortion ban.
Yep.
There's no ban at a federal level. And like Trump tonight has tried over and over and over explain to the American people is that I've done what is in the best interest for democracy.
Yeah.
And I've put that issue back towards the states so the people that live in that state, they can battle it out and decide if they feel that it's okay to have an abortion.
Exactly. And that brings me back to the question slightly. I know you've got another piece here. Why are Democrats afraid of people voting their conscience in their own state?
Because, like I told you earlier tonight, they do not like the American people to think for themselves.
Exactly.
It's simple.
But there's no catchy phrase to say what Donald Trump did about sending it back to the states like there is about the Trump abortion ban. That's catchy. It sticks in your brain. And then when you're drinking the Kool-Aid, because it's everywhere you go, just like COVID, it was everywhere you went. That's all you're going to remember is the Trump abortion ban.
And Amber May, you
You're
bring
not
up the
gonna
whole
remember
COVID
differently.
you bring up the whole COVID thing, Amber May. And earlier tonight, when they were talking about the economy, how Kamala Harris said, we came into office with the worst job production numbers in the history of this country.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be true, but what you're leaving out is there was a fucking virus that was spread across this world on purpose. And that's what led to that. It had nothing to do with what anything Trump did.
Yeah, governments shut down business.
Yes.
And who's a dictator now?
Well, okay, so that brings up a funny thing, because you remember when COVID came around and Donald Trump says, you know what, no federal mandates, let the states handle it. So the blue states, the blue states, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, started ruining everybody's business. Minnesota started ruining everybody's business. And they came out and they said, oh, he's terrible at handling this because he wants everybody to die. He won't shut down the country. But now they have changed 180 degrees in what they're saying. He ruined the country under COVID. How is one true and the other true? I don't understand.
Yeah, Joe did more damage under COVID because Donald Trump was only in it for a short time.
Yep.
And he wanted everyone to open back up, but he sent it to the states. And each governor was in charge of their state. And you made the perfect point. You could totally see the states where they wanted to go back to normal and they didn't want to kill business, and the states that wanted to. It was the biggest wealth of transfer we've seen in a long time.
Yep.
And they're about to do it again if Kamala does get into office. And it will be a scary America. It's going to be scary for the world. We're the last country standing against the globalists. If we fall, the whole world goes to the one world government.
Yeah.
Now, we just talked about how COVID, I'm sorry to interrupt, how COVID went from the federal government as far as businesses opening up and everything else. It went from the federal government out to the states. That was fine and dandy if a Democrat does that, but God forbid Donald Trump have the Supreme Court do the same thing with abortions.
Well, exactly. But wait a minute. So he gave the states the rights to operate the way they wanted to. He didn't issue any federal mandates on the states during COVID. Donald Trump, okay? And you see what happened in New York. Governor Cuomo was killing people by sending them back to the old folks' homes. Real quick, I want to read a quick comment by Eric in the Podbean chat. The reason Democrat and some Republican voters continue to vote for the same failed candidates and policies, they're complacent. I think
it goes beyond that.
I think they're ignorant, and I think they're basically stupid.
I don't think they're stupid. I just think the mind control is so powerful. And we all saw the mind control during COVID. We all lost family and friends during COVID. I mean, the mind control is so incredibly powerful.
Well, I still have an issue with everything that went down with COVID. You know, you have Kamala Harris and all the other liberal Democrats saying, my body, my choice for women and all that.
Right.
Well, I thought that went out the door years ago when COVID happened, and the federal or the state governments told you what you can and can't do with your body.
It did. It totally did.
You have to take the jab. You have to wear a mask.
You have to wear a mask. You got to stand 6 feet away from someone, even though there's no fucking science behind it whatsoever.
Exactly. You can't come out of your house. If you do, we're going to send the police to shoot you with paintballs.
Yeah.
Think about this. This was a foreshadow of what's to come in a communist country. Because what happened during World War II? Yep. Neighbors started telling on neighbors, and they would come and confiscate your former friend and ship you off to a concentration camp. What happened during COVID? They started that up again with tattling on your friend, especially in Canada. If Crash is still here, especially in Canada. And I know one of the main pastors who's trying to fight that. He's a great man. They were trying to do that in certain places in the country here. It's only going to get worse if we have a communist president.
But now, okay, it did come here, Amber. They did it in Minnesota, the home of Tampon Tim Walz, governor of the great state of Minnesota.
I said, they in some places here, but thank God it wasn't nationwide. But, like New York, Minnesota, so on and so forth.
But see, the thing is, he wants to be second in charge. His decision-making skills are not what they need to be. He doesn't care about the people in the country. He cares about where his next meal is coming from, and that's the big money donors in the Democrat Party and the one world government who are going to keep him safe when they start trying to force all of us in the middle class to eat bugs and not drive combustion engine cars anymore. I mean, it's amazing that people are falling for this. It's like in Baltimore, Maryland. They have crime, they have poverty, and the individuals that represent them, Mr. Raskin and the guy that just died while he was elected representative, they voted for these people for 30 and 40 and 50 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're in the trash, you can't see that you're in the trash until you come out of the trash. So these people that are in those cities and states and towns, they're so used to the way of life, they don't know any different until they move to another state, like a red state.
Yeah.
It comes down to conditioning and mind control, accepting it. Like places in Europe, where the drive to get better and achieve more and get somewhere isn't there like it is here in the United States. Because they had like class systems. The rulers didn't want the people to rise up and be just as powerful or more powerful than them. Yeah. So they kind of kept those people subdued. So they always had servants. But here in America, it's a different mentality. It's supposed to be anyways, where you can achieve whatever you want if you just work it hard enough. But we have a government working against us, so it's making that really hard to do.
Well, we have a government, and we have about, I would say, out of the 1.2 million federal employees, there's probably about 900,000 of those federal employees who are working for their own interest and agenda. They're not serving the people of the United States.
They're serving their families.
Yeah, and they need to be gone.
Yeah.
They need the federal government, just to show you what kind of idiocy is going on in the federal government. You remember Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. You remember that whole wonderful group of folks in the FBI.
Yep.
Peter Strzok is the guy that opened up Operation Hurricane whatever against Donald Trump and Mike Flynn. And Lisa Page is the lawyer that put all the documentation and everything together. Well, they were fired from the Federal Bureau of Intelligence or Investigation or whatever the hell it is anymore for the things that they texted for their injecting their personal opinions into government work. All right. And you know what has happened to those two terrible people?
They got paid off.
They got paid off. Each one of them is getting $1 million from the United States government because they alleged they were wrongly fired, that private messages were posted in real time.
My phone's about to die, guys. I literally have like 3%. Thank you so much for letting me come on tonight, guys.
Well, thank you for
it's nice to hear your voice slightly.
Thank you, honey.
Exactly. You take care. We'll catch you tomorrow on your show.
Yes.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. And I think we ought to be wrapping this up because my blood pressure, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm ready to
So what's the talk on the street tomorrow with the liberal media? Did Harris do a good job?
Liberal media is that Donald Trump Harris did a great job. She nailed him with the Project 2025. She tied him to it, so he will never be able to escape that. She tied him to the fact that he is going to sign an abortion ban across the United States. She was able to rehabilitate her change of heart and her change of values, and that she's not really against fracking when she is against fracking, and that she's going to do great things. She's going to build 3 million homes for people during her term. And Donald Trump is still evil because he called Nazis and KKK people fine people. Fine people. And he also said, you know what? If he doesn't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And of course, you know what? Nobody's going to talk about Gaza and Israel because it's still going to be going on.
Or the illegal aliens.
Or the illegal aliens. We're not going to be worrying about that stuff. I think the funny thing is, in the Democratic National Convention, they had the parents of this 19-year-old kid who was being held hostage in Gaza come up and talk about how great Kamala Harris is and how they're working to get their kid back home.
The kid died the next day.
Yeah, they killed the kid. They found out that the kid was killed. That's how Biden's diplomacy and Kamala Harris's diplomacy is working. They are not going to mention the fact that Kamala Harris, she is such a great diplomat. She went over to the Ukraine and she sat down with Zelensky and told him how to prepare for war with Putin. But she never picked up the phone and called Vlad and said, Vlad, don't do it. She never negotiated with Russia.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because she's a failure.
Pretty much.
That's it.
So.
Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed tonight's special presidential debate.
Yep.
The last one you'll have probably till, 2028?
Till the election, yeah. 2028. Till the Democrats can dig somebody up that's worth running.
Yeah, I don't know. They might need another 8 years for that, but I don't think it's going to change much. I think the tides are twisting towards Donald Trump. I think they're going to continue to go that way. I don't think Harris has done anything tonight that could have persuaded someone that's on the fence.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens. Should be exciting.
It should be. I tell you what, after all the newspapers and everything come out, you know what I think we should do slightly?
What's that?
I think we should have a show tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific.
I will try to make that happen.
We can talk about all of the headlines and everything, the fallout from everything that's gone on tonight. And we'll be sure to check the polls because as it stands right now in the polls, Harris is up.
I got some breaking news before we leave.
Oh, tell me.
We have the Harris campaign now wanting a second presidential debate.
Ooh.
Saying, quote unquote, that was fun.
Interesting. Where did you get that breaking news from?
That is coming out of Fox News.
News.
Fox News is proposing the second Trump-Harris debate.
I think Fox News is just trying to lead and trying to prognosticate that there's going to be a second. I don't think Harris is going to debate him.
I don't know. That's what the news is saying. Let's see. I'm trying to get some more insight into where. Harris campaign wants a second debate. This was released 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
The Harris campaign says that it wants a second presidential debate in October, moments after the end of the first debate between President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. That was fun. Let's do it again, Harris advisor Brian Fallon said. So it's the advisors that are saying it, not Harris.
No, there's not going to be another debate. There is not. They're going to go out there and spin it because, of course, everybody's going to be saying on the liberal side of the world, basically all of the mainstream media, NBC, CBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, Harris was presidential. She took down Donald Trump. She beat him hands down.
Well, and here's the other thing about it is if they have a second debate, what are they going to debate? I mean, they're just going to rehash the same shit they just talked about.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
The only one that has a proven track record, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
He did what he said he was going to do.
Yeah. And everything that Harris wants to do, she could have done 3.5 years.
Yeah. Her track record is that she's failed miserably. But with that, we'll let it go.
Good to see you again, brother.
No, it's great to see you. I was worried about you, man. I'm glad you're back.
Oh, yes. I'm still around.
Oh, you're headed back out to drive.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We love you. Appreciate it.
Maybe we'll see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned.
The Slightly Serious Show and the Slightly Doomed Show. And I want to thank you for tuning in and listening. Be sure to join me and Scooter on Wednesday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Central on our live stream conversation. Check out our linktree.com/BWD crew for details on where to find the show. And remember, you are free to disagree, but don't ever stop the conversation. And if it's not serious, we probably aren't talking about it.
Oh, your voice is so smooth. God, I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Nice. See y'all. Bye.
Ciao. Adios.
Adios, amoebas.